Good morning, everybody. It is September 4th, and we are back at her with our book club. So we're super excited. We just took our book selfie to get started with Rock Your Network Marketing Business by Sarah Robbins. So I'm not sure, do you guys have some feedback here? I'm just going to mute a few of you, but feel free at any time to unmute yourself and participate in the conversation. I'm not a very loud person, so it's just great if we're muted. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Tracy Prosick. I am Star Director of Team Believe, and I'm part of Top of the Line. So I'm excited that we are also sharing our book club with the FSRC group as well too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got lots on today, so we're going to have lots of interaction. So I'm just going to jump right in. If you guys are loving this book, I just wanted to mention that Sarah Robbins does have a web page where there's free training, videos, blogs, etc. And she also has a Facebook page as well too. So that's a great idea to jump on and like those things or check them out as well too. I highlighted one little bit that I really liked about Sarah. She just has some acknowledgments right off the top. And the first thing she says is, I'm not a professional writer. So I kind of love that. I'm not somebody that feels very confident as a professional speaker by any means. So I love that we can just be ourselves and do what works for us. So she also says she's a formerly shy teacher who found network marketing and it's radically changed her life. So I'm not a teacher, but I am somebody that is shy, so I can completely understand those sorts of things. Alrighty, so let's get started with chapter 1. Hopefully everybody has read the book. I know somebody at the end hasn't yet. But even if you haven't read the book, you can definitely jump on. Our discussions are super powerful for sure. So chapter 1 is demystifying the big build. And I don't normally do this in my books, but I've got so much highlighted, so many notes written in the side, and I just bent the spine. Those are normally things I don't do with a book, but I've done with this book because it's just that good. So Sarah goes on to introduce herself, definitely. She said her 6 to 7 figure success certainly didn't happen overnight. And I know that reaches all of us, right? Nothing good, nothing worthwhile, nothing sustainable happens overnight. So she goes on to introduce herself. So take the time to check that out. But let's jump into the good stuff. The one thing that I always start the discussions with my team at this time of the year. September for me is back to school, back to routine. It's kind of the beginning of the year for me. So I'm working on new goals. And right at the top, I wrote in the side, I wrote, why did you start? So that is a great place that I like to reflect on at this time of year, and also reflect on with my team as well too. And then just go from there. She jumped in her business that she's with brand new, but what she didn't have a lot of experience, right? But she wanted to learn. So she took advantage of all types of learning and training. And she said I liked this part here. She said, we believe so strongly in the opportunity we were offering and the products we were promoting. So I know all of us believe so strongly in our Tupperware businesses, in our Tupperware products. I know for those of you that I know personally or know through our Facebook groups, I see you guys sharing what you're cooking, sharing what you love, sharing everything. So that is one of the, when I have new team members, I'm often telling them, just post about what you're using, post about what you're loving, and just be loud and proud, right? Sorry, I've got so many notifications that are coming up and distracting me. And she goes on to say, through our persistent and commitment to personal and professional growth, we are able to establish a system and help others. So many of us on here today have grown and promoted to manager, star manager, and so on, all the way up to director. So I know that that's one of my favorite parts, is just helping everybody learn and stuff as well too. She goes on to talk about, many of us have earned company cars, enjoying trips, which I know, for instance, many of us in Top of the Line have as well too. So One thing I like to hear from our newest team members is, what are your goals? What are your dreams? And I encourage you, if you haven't shared with your director, to share what your goals or dreams are. Are you excited about, promoting to director and earning that first trip or car? Because many of us have got to do that as well too. She goes on to talk about success in network marketing didn't come easy for me. She wasn't a fast starter and she failed forward quite a bit. But the most important thing was that I didn't quit and learned a lot. And that is so key. And so important, right? We know that we're going to have moments where, something's not working. But instead of letting that discourage us and having us stop what we're doing, we can just, jump on a call, jump on a training session. I always find so much motivation from all of those things as well too. Before I move on to failing forward, anybody have anything else that stood out for them at that part that you highlighted? We're just kind of getting started, so there is. Anybody gonna unmute? All right, if you don't.
I loved her. I love the introduction as well, but I really, really love, and I know we're going to talk about it more here, but I really, really love the term failing forward, and I can't get enough of it. And until this network marketing business, I hadn't thought about it in that context, so it clicked something for me that I really, really loved. Yeah, so I'm excited that this chapter is all about that.
Mm-hmm. That's, yeah, we're just walking into the failing forward, right? So she, just kind of reading here. I'm just going to read this. She recalled, I remember crying over pasta, wondering how she was going to make $3,000 per month in her network marketing. She was discussing this with a girlfriend that had helped her out. And then she's now making 6 figures per month. And when people asked her how she did it, she said she was coachable, right? So I love the opportunities that we all have to be able to, listen and brainstorm together and learn from everybody as well too. Once again, she says, when I started my business, success didn't come easy for me. Speaking from my personal experience, it wasn't something that I had intended on doing, working it as a business. And I know oftentimes, I was my own worst enemy, right? I let the fact that I was not outgoing, that I was a stay-at-home mom, that I was super shy, hold me back and use that as a little challenge or an excuse, right? She said I had many challenges, some may view as hurdles, even from the starting gate. She was young, she was broke, she was shy, but I know with the encouragement, with the guidance, with listening to other leaders talk, that, I was ready to make that step. And with Lindsay, for those of you that don't know, Lindsay is my upline director. So with her guidance, with her help, I was able to push myself out of that comfort zone. So it is super powerful to work alongside your team members, your directors, fellow top of the line members, definitely as well too. I highlighted this part. She said, my hands were shaking, my knees were knocking, and I literally saw stars. And she remembers talking to her first customer, and she verbally vomited everything all over that customer. And the customer just stared at her with like a deer in headlights, right? So I know we get nervous, we tend to talk a lot and share too much information. So I love how we often hear, just start with the basics, let them ask some questions, and don't tell them everything. Let them get them excited, get them joining your team, then you can share all that. So she went on to talk about how she ran out of there. But the most important thing was that she didn't want to give up, right? She needed to earn some extra money. So that's what I like to regroup. As I said, once again in September, I like to regroup. I like to look at my goals, and focusing on those goals keeps me motivated and keeps me working versus, letting that little voice in my head tell me that, you can't do it, or I'm too shy, those sorts of things too. And once again, she says she was coachable. She's willing to learn and use a system that has worked, right? So listen to what others are sharing, watch what others are doing. She was committed and wasn't going to give up. So that is very important to do, is even if something doesn't work, what can you do to change it up, to do something a little bit different? Did anybody have any input before I keep going through that chapter? Caroline, yes?
The last statement that Leslie made in this first paragraph, she was coachable. Like that to me was like, holy F. Like that to me was huge because so thinking as a director, I invest a lot of my time in, let's say, 20 people. What I've learned is I'm wasting a lot of my time on maybe 10 of them. And after reading this section, I was thinking, well, I got to go back to them and say, we're spending a lot of time on the phone. We're sharing the words and the knowledge, but where's the action? Because I can share what I've learned, and I have walked the walk. Like I don't ever guide anybody in places I haven't been, which is why I get out of my comfort zone so much. And I actually had to think when was I coachable? Because my upline and me, we had a relationship at the beginning, but not after I became a director. But I can remember on two specific occasions where I was after a big goal and I was out of fucking ideas. And I reached out specifically to Chantel, and I had never reached out to her before. I don't even think I ever met her. And I said, what can you do? Because I just needed more. So when I read this, I was like, well, am I still coachable? Because there's never, I know everything. And there's always I'm down and out. What do I need? So I got to also keep myself in check and humble and put ego on the shelf and say, well, what can someone tell me to do that I'm not? So I think that was like so powerful that I made the Post-it note. It's up here on the computer here. And I'm really going to concentrate on that because I got to put my energy where people are actually taking action. And I also got to do that myself for me.
Right. Well, and I think that's what I'm super excited about as well too. Yes, throughout this summer I was working, as much as I wanted to with my schedule, but I'm super excited. I love learning all sorts of things, whether it be about myself or the Tupperware business, and I love the opportunity to get to learn from all of you as well too. And I love that, Caroline, that we got to realize even with our team members for sure as well too, who is coachable, who do we want to work with? Lindsay, you unmuted?
Well, I took my mute off because I 100%, as Caroline was talking, I was like, Caroline, yes, that's exactly, as soon as I read that sentence, exactly what I thought. Holy shit, am I still coachable? And if I'm not, how can I be? And then started thinking about all the ways I've seen the people that, that I'm looking to strive to be, how are they coachable? And it's just so obvious. What I love about book club, you guys, and any book that we're ever going to read or any new training that comes is that we get new word choices, and sometimes just a word can change how we think about something. So failing forward, your light bulb moment, right? Coachable, light bulb moment. And it's some of the things might be doing already. You might already be doing these things or realize this, but until you put a definition or a word to it, it gives you a light bulb moment that's different. And so I love that this, I'm so excited for the rest of this book and all of the new terms that we're going to get that give us those light bulb moments. So one of the things that reminded me in that sentence was my very first elite trip. And I know lots of us aren't at that point in our businesses yet. So there's lots of examples before this, but 3 years ago, on my first elite trip. So elite happens when, as an organization, you have $500,000 or more. The very first time you do that, there's a growing elite trip. And so I was like a baby on that trip. Like I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I did not, there's all these big wig people, and I'm just I can't believe I'm here, and I don't deserve to speak. I don't deserve to I just need to take in information, but I shouldn't be here. It's a mistake, and I'm just going to sneak on this. It happened to be Alaska cruise, and I'm just going to sneak on this boat and learn as much as I can. And that's kind of how I felt. But then one of the first conversations I had with Pam, who is one of the business leaders of our FSRC group, and she asked me a question, and her listening ears were so genuine that I was blown away. So she was genuinely interested in learning my answer to the question she asked. And I can't even remember the question now. I just remember the feeling of being asked the question and her response to that. So she wasn't asking a question because she was starting conversation. She wasn't asking a question because I was a baby on the trip and she was trying to make me feel comfortable. She was asking a question because she genuinely wanted to know the answer, because she, 30 years into her business, is still coachable and wants to learn something new. And it's such a moment that is so important, I think. So as long as you're willing to learn, you're going to go far in the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. It is so true. And yeah, I have nothing to add, because yes, you need to, I tell my kids, even, as they headed out the door today, be a sponge. And especially my oldest one, because he's kind of at that ego age too, where he's like, oh, I'm, grade 10, I know everything, but he doesn't. And as long as we're continuing to learn, and we're definitely going to grow for sure. Anybody else had to add anything before I go on there?
Me.
Okay.
Just because, and quickly, I met Pam at Hemingway, and I can remember having that feeling like I don't deserve to be here, because you were literally with big wigs. But then I realized there's a lot of people that, were kind of in my same boat. But Pam actually made a really strong connection to me as well. And every time I've won something or been in her presence, she does have a really sincere presence, which I do appreciate. But on the point of word choices, I learned a new sentence this week that I just loved, so I want to share with you. So get your pencils. It's not, do you have any questions? It's now, what questions do you have? So you're implying that they're coming with you with questions. And I actually watched a webinar. I can't even recall who it was, because I was watching a lot last week. And it was literally a question that you could be comfortably asked. Well, what questions do you have, Lindsay? And it implies that we're expecting you to have some, and leaving that gap so that you do spit it out. And what happens just ineptly is that you are going to say it, because the comfort level is built there, so that, oh, we expect you to have it. So I found that was good. I actually have tried it a bit with my kids. They're the guinea pigs, right? I kind of pull the core on them and put them in the corner, and I get through that. But I found that was really powerful to me, and I only had to practice it once, and now that's what I know. What questions do you have? Actually, I got it up from a teacher's website. That's where I got it from.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, and you saying I only had to practice it one time. That's for myself. I tend to stick to the things that I get comfortable with as well too, because I'm not fast on my feet. That I'm just not. I get shy or quiet. So I love too hearing new. I love that you shared that too, because yeah, I'll be practicing it on my kids as well too. Anybody else? That was.
I really do like the what questions do you have, because then it gives them a chance to actually let you fill in the pieces that you may have missed, because sometimes we give people information and it's not the right information that they want to hear. And it's also letting them know right from the beginning that they're important, that you want to hear what they have to say. So I think that's great.
It sharpens our listening skills too. Like if you say it, well, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to ask you what questions you had. It'll sharpen your listening skills to your audience. So at the end, and girls are brutal for this. When girls are listening to a challenging or new information, the entire time we're already preparing what we're going to ask. Where boys will normally listen to it and then come up with it at the end. So I think it's good, especially when we're dealing with women, because we do proactively plan it all along, what we're going to ask when we hear those gaps. So I think with our audience, letting you know at the beginning of the webinar, I'm going to ask you what questions do you have at the end. During that process, they might jot it down so that at the end, when they are called upon, they'll spit it out and be more comfortable doing it.
Well, and I like that you just said that, asking that at the beginning, at the end, I'm going to ask you what questions you have. So, because for me, somebody that hates, that question answer period time, it also gives me the comfort of, I've got the time to really listen and absorb and write down that question. So I'm not like stammering at the very end as well too. Anybody else, anything to add before we go on? What else did I have highlighted here? Okay, so it goes on to talk about her mom and her were super excited about the opportunity, and I found this rung a chord with me a little bit as well too. So her mom said, "Let's not tell anybody. Let's keep this our own little secret." So I remember when early on when I was working to grow my team and stuff, my husband actually said, "Why don't you talk to so and so?" And I was so nervous about that because she was my best customer. And I know we talked about this lots in our last book club, that your best customer can become your best team member as well too. So that kind of reminded me of that, I was like, no, I don't really want to add her because then who am I going to, have for a customer as well too. So that was something that brought back that reminding to just never, don't be nervous about that sort of thing. Um, and then it talks about how she quickly learns that all of the 6 and 7 figure earners use their time and increase their income by building a team, right? With one simple shift. She made this shift, from product sales to power prospecting for the business. So I just actually had this discussion with a team member, I think it was yesterday, over the weekend anyways. She was working, she didn't end up sharing the sales and stuff, and we had lots of excitement with our new catalog. We had lots of sales that were ending and stuff, so she had a bit of a slower month. So she was working to grow her team and stuff, and that is super important as well too when you're working to step up to manager and all that as well too. But you want to make sure that you're doing both sides of the business as well too. So but she's really excited and she wants to work towards stepping up to manager. But as we're going about and sharing, partying and sharing the sales and stuff as well too, that's where we're going to grow our teams. Sarah goes on to say, "I watched my check go from a few $1,000s to more than 10,000 per month in just a few months with the power of prospecting." So the next little section here is finding success through prospecting. Now, they ask the question, what is prospecting? So that's looking for gold. Prospecting is the process of talking to people in hopes that you will find some who are interested in joining you to promote the products or services or in joining your business. Now, the question I had here is, where do you guys have the most success finding potential team members? And would love some input here as well too. I know that for myself, I haven't, throughout the summer, I wasn't partying as much. So of course, I wasn't, sharing the opportunity as much too. But I really want my team to focus and get back to the parties, because that's, where we're going to find our potential team members that are excited about the discounts and such as well too. And as Carol Ann said earlier, you need to remember who's coachable, who's workable, because we're going to have all types of different team members, right? We know that we're going to have team members that are just shopping for themselves, some that are hungry to become power partners in your business, but we do have to talk to a lot of people and share the opportunity with a lot of people, right? It's coming up to trade show season. I know I've got a lot of trade shows in my date book, so that's where I'll be getting out and in front of people as well too. Oh, this part here, I'm at the bottom of page 15. It's talking about the different team members. You're going to have some that are top leaders. You're going to have some that work at a moderate pace. But you have to remember that we can't motivate people who are unwilling to do what it takes to be successful. They need to want to do it for themselves. But so I like to share the information and let them make the decisions for themselves. I highlighted this part too. I'm only responsible to get them off to a great start. People work at varying paces, and that's important to remember for ourselves and as leaders, as directors. Some people like the product, only want to order it for themselves. Some will promote it. And then I liked this part too. Some will enter the witness protection program. They buy the kit and disappear. But we're all in, all of your team members are important no matter what they are doing, and it definitely helps with all this different numbers too. So you're going to be sifting and sorting until you find your key leaders, and you'll never want to stop prospecting. So that was something that kind of stood out for me. I just have to remember to share the opportunity, allow them to make their choices for themselves, right? Did anybody else have anything to add in that little area? Carrie?
The section where you were saying about on page 14, where they didn't want to share the opportunity originally, really that's a beginner's mindset. A lot of new people that join, they don't want to lose their best customers. They're afraid because then they're going to have to replace that customer. I'll tell you, some of my best customers have joined my team and are directors as well. So you just need to get over that beginner mindset and just go for it. Just ask everyone, ask people in a different way, over a different course of time. And at some point, because if they are your best customers and they are always buying the product, they love the product, they're knowledgeable in the product, they obviously have friends over because they want to entertain, so those are the key things. They're already there. They're already doing it. So just give them the push. So I really, that to me really stood out, because once you get over that beginner's mindset, you're off and running.
Exactly. That's exactly where that was just before I had stepped up to manager and shifted that mindset as well too. Anybody else have anything stand out in those couple pages? Alrighty, so then the next little section is about, is it a numbers game? So what does that mean? So I highlighted this little section we'll go through quickly. The major growth of your organization may be tied to just a few people, but we do know that we need, strength is in numbers for sure too. So as we've talked about many times, ask lots, ask often, and ask again, as Carrie just mentioned too. But you never know what your personal set-off odds will be until after you've succeeded. We don't know how many conversations or how many people we're going to have to talk to, how many times, for instance, we hear Cora share that she was asked before she said yes. So we're going to have many conversations. We're going to have to make opportunities for us to talk to many people about the opportunity before we do find those team members or before we find gold. So get ready to talk it up. The more people you share with, the better your odds of finding your power partners will be. So of course, partying, trade shows, there's all sorts of different opportunities to start those conversations as well too. It's talks about personal activity. So myself as a leader, I want to make sure that I'm walking the walk, talking the talk, and look at myself when I know that, I didn't quite hit my goal this month. But that's because I made the choice and I wasn't out there as much. Take personal responsibility for your activity. Totally am. I know that's the reason why, but summer was summer. And always respect your team members' effort and their pace, right? I really liked that as well too, because some have different goals, some have different dreams, but it says never stop recruiting new customers and business partners. Focus on daily activity to progress towards your success. And I really liked this part. It was a goal that I set for myself last year. Did it happen every day? Not quite, but she says my rule for myself is 5 contacts per day keeps leads coming my way. So I really, really, really liked that, and that was my goal for myself last year as well too. Now, if 5 seem too big, even talking to one person a day can make a huge addition to your business if that isn't something that you've been doing previously. So she says if I'm home, I'm making calls to people on my contact list. If I'm out, I'm handing out business cards or having conversations with people I meet. So in the side I had, how do you start conversations? What are some ways that you can start that conversation with somebody? I don't know if you can see, but I have my Tupperware jacket on. I got my water bottle always next to me or with me. The kids are off to school with everything in their lunch kits, Tupperware. So those are things that I brainstorm with my team as well too. How can you easily start those conversations? Because for myself, somebody that's not good at just going up to somebody, I like to have these kind of things to just kind of get the conversation rolling. Or when I'm out at the grocery store and the cashier says to me, did you find everything that you need? Just going to mute you, Elaine. When she asked me that question, did you find everything you need? I often say yes. I found everything I need to make dill pickle dip for my Tupperware party tonight. So those are just some different ways to get that ball rolling and start making those contacts daily. And she says I'm not done until I've made those connections and continue to work through my numbers, which in turn increase her odds for success as well too. So once again, it's September for myself, so I'm going to get back to that 5 contacts a day. I did it yesterday, so we'll get back at it today. What do you guys do to kind of get progress going or make contacts? Do you have a goal of how many people you want to talk to a day? Or anything that you do daily to increase your chances of your business growing? No, Carrie?
I just talk to everyone. So then it becomes natural. And like 80% of the time, Tupperware never comes into play. But if I see them again, or if I happen to bump, like if they happen to be a guest at a party, then they might be like, oh, hey, I saw her out and about. So then it's less awkward. So yeah, like I talk to like adults at the park that have their kids, people that have dogs. Like I just try and talk to everybody so that it never becomes overly uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I like that. And definitely too, that's as I've stayed at home for 19 years now, but I am in a small community. So I take the opportunity when somebody asks me, what have you been up to? Or, but yeah, I'm always talking as well too. It's just a great way to, make future contacts, as you said, or have people recognize you, at a party or something. Lindsay?
I think it's a good point, Carrie, because it is important that I think it doesn't become, it's not natural at first, but if you force yourself to talk to people, that it becomes natural. And it just, something in what you said occurred to me that, unlike Tracy, I don't have any kids. And so when I started Tupperware, I was working outside of the home full time. And actually, when I transitioned to doing Tupperware, I then took my job down to part-time and then transitioned to full-time Tupperware. And one of the things that I didn't expect to happen, that did happen, that made me realize I need to kind of address. So I don't give myself a number anymore, but I do love the idea when I'm in a slump, I give myself a number. Like if I just need to be like, okay, get back into focus, Lindsay. So for the next 2 weeks, you're going to connect with 5 team members a day and 5 customers a day. So I do give my numbers. I give myself a goal and a number because I find that helps me focus. And I do that on an individual basis. But back to my original point, which was when I transitioned from outside of the home job to doing Tupperware full time, I found that all of a sudden I wasn't talking to anyone because I wasn't really needing to leave my house. So knowing I don't have to leave my house for kids' activities, I don't have to leave my house unless I want to do something, right? So when I transitioned, and at first it was like, oh, this is awesome. I can do whatever I want when I want. But then a few weeks went by and I was like, holy shiznaz, I haven't talked to anyone because I didn't see anyone in my day. Right? And so for those of you that do stay at home full time, whether it's because you're a mom or for whatever other reason, I think it is something that is a good point to make, that if you make it a part of your daily life, it does just become natural that you happen to go to the post office, you talk to that person, but it needs to be forced at first. And it's not going to necessarily feel forced to the person you're talking to. So remember that, because that was a hang up for me. Because when I was working outside the home, it was easy. So I'm like, oh yeah, like obviously I'm going to talk to you because you know that I see you on. When I was transitioning out, I was guarding, and so like I would see lots of people on a certain schedule because they would come to the swimming pool on a certain schedule, right? They would come lane swimming on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. So obviously I'm going to talk to them on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I would never reach out to them separately because I knew I would see them on Wednesday. And so then I would say something on Wednesday, but then all of a sudden I wasn't seeing that person on Wednesday. So what the heck do I do? Because it was unnatural to phone them on the phone and say like, hey, just wanted to keep you in the loop because now I don't see you on Wednesdays, right? All of a sudden I had to realize, okay, I need to give that naturalness into something else. So I think it's important for us to remember that not only in new life decisions that we make, but like coming out of summer, right? Mm-hmm. Next summer, when we go into summer, again, you're transitioning into a different habit section of life, and now transitioning in, you're going to see people differently, and it needs to be natural no matter what habit you're in, whether it be a season of the year or a season of your life, so that it's easy to talk to people. So I liked, Carrie, what you said, that that it is just natural, so you do it, so you don't put a number on it. But I think we've got a few people on that, might not have that process yet. So keep in mind that it didn't start necessarily natural, right? And I assume that's the way for you, Carrie, as well.
Right, and that's kind of why I do that, because I know with me, if I stop doing it, then I know it's going to be that much harder to actually just talk to people when I'm out. Because when I know people, I'm comfortable talking to them, but when I don't really want to talk to them, right? But now it's just a different mindset of, I just try and look approachable and look friendly and just be out having fun. And I just noticed that it works for me. And then it's just a little bit easier each time. But yeah, I don't think it really comes naturally for anybody. So you just kind of have to just keep practicing, right?
Well, and for myself too, as I said earlier, fall is when I get back to routine and stuff as well too. So I don't, because I say 5 in my head, or to myself, I don't just stop at 5. It's just something that and for myself too, I'm also somebody that's super content if I didn't have to leave my house and if I didn't have to talk to people, I wouldn't do that as well. I would be content with that as well too. So, but yes, it's just something, and definitely I'm somebody too that if you got to keep it happening and keep it active to become something I could become confident in as well too, because that's not something that comes easy for myself. Anybody else have anything to input before we're just about wrapped up? I really enjoyed this book as well too. The chapters are just the right amount of really great information as well too. The next little section here talks about what are your odds. Your success is directly related to the degree to which you are willing to work to find others like yourself who are committed to succeeding. And I really, really liked this. Would you be willing to hear many no's to sign up? It says 100 or more people until you strike gold, right? So you definitely we know that we're going to hear a lot of no's, but in those no's, if we keep asking, we're going to get to those yeses as well too. If you haven't achieved the level of success you desire yet, you can either give up and assume the business model doesn't work, or you can accept the fact that you're working through your odds or working through your no's, so don't give up until you succeed. So that was something that I really, really liked. Because we know that, you just have to keep working through those no's. You just have to keep working and not give up, right? I know there are times that something doesn't work, but that's when I encourage or love to have a brainstorm with my team members or with Lindsay, my director, and just get remotivated and refocused. Now it says I'm really excited about how she's talking about all these chapters are going to help you increase your confidence, sharpen your skills, improve your own sets of odds, and it says, are you ready to go for the gold? So I'm excited to hear if anybody wants to share any of their goals for September or their business this year. I had some questions that I jotted down at the end. I have what can you do to increase your odds? So do you guys have anything you're going to try differently maybe this September, or something that you're going to do regularly? I know Carrie does a great job of going out and friend finding. So I often think of Carrie because that's something I want to do on a more regular basis, and now have lots of time with all of my kids being in school. So that was something that I really want to set in place. Did anybody else have any ideas that you can do to increase your odds of success, or what you wanted to share with us? We have lots. Yes. Go ahead, Carolyn.
I love back to school. Love it. I'm that mom who's like in the house coat with, yeah, I'm that mom. So I'm really excited because I found our summer was crazy. We had a lot of travel time, and I was on 3 trips since June. So it's been totally off kilter for me. I find that and I sort of did it today, but I have a regular schedule, and I was doing it at the end of the year where I no longer have the mentality that this is, you know, I'm treating it more like a traditional job. I'm making sure I'm got my ass down by, what works for me. I'm taking a small break and, doing the laundry, taking care of the dog, whatever. And I'm regulating it more like a schedule. And I found, and we've heard it 1,000 times, write it down, have the plan, but stick to it. How many freaking lists do we have that we don't actually do? Because at a moment we're like, oh wow, tomorrow I'm going to do this, 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 this. And then you go to bed defeated. You're like, I never fucking did anything on my list. And what I try to do is I do an easy thing, a hard thing, an easy thing, a hard thing. And that helps me a bit better. I always start with the easy thing because, 5 minutes of putting away that laundry hamper of socks. Who hates socks, right? 6 pairs of socks, and everybody wears black socks, right? So that's a challenge. So I get it done, and then I just feel like, okay, I don't have to worry about that because I don't want to go back to my room and look at the end of the night. So with this, the hardest thing for me to do is use the telephone. Nobody loves the phone. So I look for segues all the time. And Carrie mentioned, practicing will get you done. So if I have these little opportunities, like a crying baby and a little tiny Shapo toy in my purse, like I was mad because I ran out of keychains when I was on my trip. Now I was in America, so I couldn't really recruit anybody. But I mean, I was giving away those Shapo toy balls like crazy. And my kids are just laughing at me at this point, but it gave me the comfort to come home and do it more here. Even citrus peelers and things like that. Like I always had a little handle on it. So I really look forward to setting a schedule and treating it like a traditional job, which is what I did all of my life. And I found summer was laxy daisy and all these excuses. So, and not so much excuses, but reasons to not work. So I'm really looking forward to the firm schedule and holding myself to it, because when you do it, it rolls in. It just happens. Now, in regards to what are your odds, the thing we got to remember is everybody's odds are different. I mean, I've been a director since April. The odds that I would have been a quadruple director would have been like really, really good by now, because I've got hundreds of people I've brought in since I joined. My odds are quite different than Carrie, who's now a quadruple sextuplet director, and the odds are with her. So I'm still looking to strike my gold. So the odds are different for everybody. And I think last Friday night when I did my little pep talk at 12:01, because I had a defeated moment, and I was like, so many people are looking at this and going, why not me yet? But as long as you continue it, the odds will come. It is a little bit of a numbers thing, but your number is different than Tracy's or Carrie's or Lindsay's. But the perseverance, which is what she talked about here at the beginning, is what gets you the failing forward attitude, because you just figure out what doesn't work when you don't succeed, and you just keep going. So I found this chapter with tons of notes, lots of aha moments, and lots of words that I could take back and actually say to certain people, because I thought, like when you read, you think, oh, that'd be great for so-and-so to hear. So just putting it into action, and the practice, everybody's afraid. The practice makes you better, and it doesn't matter if it's on your kids or your husband or the person in the store or someone in America who'll never join your team. It's the comfort level that we got to get, and we can look back at any one of our videos even a year ago and how corny we felt and looked compared to how we are now, right? So it's the practice. And I think if we can instill that in the beginner's mindset, like Carrie said, because we all had that, and depending on who your teacher or upline is, you may or may not get that in 2 months, let alone a year. But changing that mindset of find your prospecting, which I love that word too, as fast as possible, because the power partner. So many words I wrote down. Wrote down so much is really important. I never ever heard that term before. I have a ton of power partners. I have a lot of people on my team that we work together and we're all kind of moving forward at the same pace, but nobody that really has excelled to a promotion level, but tons of power partners. And my kidnappers are those people, because my kidnappers are remarkable word of mouth business people for our entire team. They're amazing, actually. I love them. So tons of information from here. I think this would be a great thing for anybody to read in September, because like Tracy, it's the beginning of my year too, because I look at this as a 10-year challenge, or at least get me to Christmas holidays with children. Like that's an attainable goal, and my goal is elite, and I only got to sell $60,000 a month to do it. So when I said that yesterday, someone went, "Oh," and I'm like, "Don't worry about it. We can do this. Look how many we are. We only have to do this each." And then I was like, "Oh, well, we can do that."
Yes, you will do it.
Right. So break it down. Anyway, I thought it was amazing. I'm really excited about this little tiny book.
It's Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just in summary, I feel like this was a great first chapter to start on. I hope we have a really awesome, I'm looking forward to all the people that are on for our first time this month. I hope everybody, you know, if you have something you'd like to say today, still say it. We can also turn off the recording if that makes you nervous when we're done in a second here. So that you can say something, because I hope and I encourage all of you to get involved this way. Really, my summary from this first chapter is all of those keywords, like Caroline said, and I think coachable is a big one for me. When I think about, because I often look and say, okay, how do we get more people finding the success that they want? Because we all have different goals. Your goal, like Caroline just said, her goal is elite. It is okay if your goal isn't elite, right? It's okay if your goal is that by the end of the year, you're buying yourself a new fridge with the commission that you've made, right? And that's just as great as a goal as $500,000 in a year, okay? And it's where we all start. Certainly my goals when I started were different than they are now. But when I look at all of the people that are reaching those goals, whether they be buying a fridge or hitting elite or growing their organization or, you know, what have you, and I really take a look at the traits of our board of directors, who are 54 strong at the end of this August sales month. So that's really exciting. When I look at our board of directors, and I really look at our established directors that have been around for a long time and have really shown the pace, the main personality trait, I think, because we're all so very different, comes out from that is taking initiative. And I think that came out as a theme, even though that wasn't a word in this chapter, that came out as a theme for me in this chapter. All of the things that she talked about really were taking initiative. And that, so I think I'm going to add coachable to my list of traits that I think all of those people that are super successful in our BOD have an element of being coachable. And have continued to be coachable throughout their, you know, months or years with Tupperware. And so for those of you that are on and listening and, you know, have those goals, I would say, first of all, thank you and congratulations to you for getting onto this webinar, because that one shows initiative and shows that you're willing to be coachable. So you already have the 2 traits that it takes for long-term success. So I'm so super excited to go on this book club journey with you guys for the rest of the fall.
Well, and it's so much fun learning and brainstorming together for sure as well too. Would love to hear from anybody else that wanted to share as well too before we wrap up for today. Oh, I'm so excited book club's back on. So much fun. Alrighty, anybody? I will stop the recording now. Thank you for joining us.